Hey, Bart, how you doing? I have a Tampa Hard Rock 2.5 1,000 cap 7-handed.
Recently?
Yeah, about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, do they have plexiglass in Florida?
Yeah, they had the plexiglass 7-handed.
Seven-handed Tampa Hard Rock, which I have not been to Tampa Hard. Actually, never been to Tampa. I've been to Jacksonville.
So now usually the 2.5 game I'm used to is a 500 cap, and this is a 1,000 cap, so it's a little bigger than I'm used to playing in.
Okay. Yep.
So Dylan is unknown and hijacked. He's late 20s, clean cut looking. He has about 2,400. I have him covered. My table just broke, so I moved to this table. So no idea who this guy is. So mid position player limps, and Dylan is in the hijack and makes it 25. Okay. I'm on the button with ace of spades, ace of hearts.
Mm-hmm.
I decided to go with a big raise. I went to 125.
Okay.
Just because I had a ton of chips and I wanted to maybe look like I was just like going to go crazy and run the table over, even though that's probably not what he was thinking. So
I don't think it's that crazy with a limper in there. You're also deep too. And
yeah, and I was drinking. He might have saw that. I was having a good time. So
okay, he's trying to give off the image. Yeah.
yeah. So I thought it would look good, but all right. So the limper forward villain called.
Okay.
Okay, so the flop comes 3 of clubs, 4 of hearts, 5 of clubs. So he checks. I bet $80.
Hold on one second. 3 of clubs, 4 of hearts, 5 of clubs?
Yes, sir.
All right. So hijack calls. You're like at 260-ish, something like that. 3 of clubs, 4 of hearts, 5 of clubs. Pot's right around 260. Okay, he checks.
He checks. I bet 80. Which was kind of small. I like the board. I mean, I thought in my mind at the time, I thought I'm getting called by all over pairs. I was kind of really focused on him having an overpair, which maybe in this game is a little off. I think the player pool here is a lot better than where I play, so guys will be calling a lot wider than I'm thinking at the time.
I mean, it's just a little bit unfortunate for you that you have 2 of the aces, because usually what you'll see, especially nowadays, is like, for example, if you had 2 kings, people are always going to take off on a wheel board. A wheel board is being 3 cards below a 5, right? And 2 over cards. So like ace jack, ace queen, ace king, right? Is going to be 2 over cards and a straight draw on a wheel board. So obviously he could have that, but I'm just saying you have 2 aces, right, in your hand. So you bet 80.
So I bet 80. Mm-hmm. He calls.
Okay.
So the turn comes 6 of clubs.
Pot's 420 now, as some people probably in the audience like 420. Turn was 6 of clubs.
6 of clubs. He checks. Now this is where I got a little, I think maybe ahead of myself. I bet 325.
Hijack checks. Hero bets 325. That is, I would say, a little bit optimistic here, because so it's
I'm thinking. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So it's the 3rd club and a 1-liner, right, out there. 3, 4, 5, 6 with 3 clubs.
Yes.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's, even if it wasn't a flushing card, I think that you're pretty much going to be forced here to check a lot, based upon this card. Yeah, it's just like one of these things. And, one of the other things too is, of course, it's no limit, right? So, you think about like pot control, like what is pot control? And pot control probably came about from pot limit games, right? Like pot control in PLO. I don't know if you play any PLO caller, because you can only bet pot. So if you don't put a bet in on the turn, the guy can only bet pot. Of course, that goes out the window in no limit, but the practical application of that is that not a lot of live players have a lot of overbetting in their thing, so you can pot control here with a check. I just think that you run out of a lot of value, and
Yeah, I was worried about giving a free card with a club, not having a club, and I was thinking I was getting called by an overpair. That was basically my thought, and I just didn't think sevens, or I just didn't think he had this board. So,
but is he calling?
I'm
with?
Stuck on overpairs.
So you think you're trying to get value from like 10s, jacks with the club?
Yeah, I was trying to make him pay with jacks or 10s with a club, but I I look back now and think it was just a check, pot control, like you're saying.
Well, it's just, I mean, like I said, I mean, a lot of money in live poker is won through, getting value and thin value bets, but you do have to have respect for the board. And there are times when you basically have run out of a lot of value, and you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you're getting, a lot of hand. I mean, the easiest thing in No Limit that I tell sort of new players, or it's one of the first things that I'll tell if somebody hires me to teach somebody that's brand new to poker or that's trying to get serious with No Limit. I'm like, in big bet poker, you don't want to get into a situation where you take a hand and you either bet or so large that everything that's weaker than your hand folds and only better continues on. It's way ahead, way behind. It's super basic No Limit. Now, newer school No Limit, there is now times to what I like to call volume bet. Like we look at why do we bet, right? For a bluff, for value, protection. And now this sort of newer school thing where we're betting our range, we're volume betting. That's the fourth thing. And you can actually look at this over on Crush Live Poker in our Fast Track series. We have a revisited episode of Way Ahead, Way Behind where I go over this, and our former coach Keeley, who did Fast Track, he shows mathematically how it's usually on the flop. There are certain situations where by betting 100% of your range, you will show a higher expectation, because a lot of times you're going to see a turn in a river. You cannot put a turn bet in and get to a river. So even if you bet like sevens in a 3-bet pot on Ace King 3, that will actually show more of return than checking it back and facing a bet on turn. I mean, that's the basic thing here. But I mean, once you get to the turn, though, that's usually a flop bet. Once you get to the turn, this is a little bit way ahead, way behind. You can obviously have protection bets on the turn, but you don't. I mean, you could make a case that you're making a protection bet against the club, but I just think that you've run out of value here. So anyways, you bet 325.
Gotcha. So I bet 325. He calls. I got the pot at 1070.
Okay.
The river comes the deuce of diamonds.
Oh, so now there's a straight on board. 6, 5, 4, 3 deuce. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So now the villain leads into me for 650.
Well, here's the thing. I think I might have misread your email, caller. What was your name again? Chris, right?
Chris, yep.
Because I think I thought that there was no third flush card on the turn. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. Like, if and we can look at this. Like, say the turn was the 6 of diamonds, right? And now the river's a deuce, and now the straight plays on board, and he leads for 650. Can we call for a chop? Right? So just pretend for a second that the 6 is not a club. Okay, so he's betting 650 into 1070. How much are you, what are your pot odds in this situation?
30%.
Well, no, no, because remember, you have to lay a price. You have to lay a price when you're calling for a chop, right? Like, I mean, a normal situation, if you bet 650 into 1070, right, the pot would be right around 1720, 650 for you to call. You'd be getting almost 3-1. But here, and I know this from a lot of split pot play too, because I play high-low games, you're calling 650 to win half of the pot, not including his bet. You're calling 650 to win 535. You have to lay a price. Like, you have to be good here more than 50% of the time to call. Now, with the possibility of a flush being out here, I don't think this is a call. If the turn was not a club, I probably would call. I think I would call, because I think if any type of player is sort of capable or thinking about it, it's 7x is fairly unlikely. I just don't see us folding here if there's no club out there getting a price of about 50%. I mean, is my view. I think with the flush out there, I think you're going to let it go.
I like to bluff in these spots, and I assume other people are doing it. But if I think I'm chopping a pot, I'll try to bluff at it with a big bet.
Some people in the chat are saying, would you ever bluff here with the ace of clubs? If you had aces with the ace of clubs, could this be a bluff bet? Yeah, certainly. But I wouldn't do it without the ace of clubs.
Yeah. I got it.
Yeah. So what ended up happening?
Anyway, I ended up calling. He had King Jack of clubs.
King Jack of clubs. That's why I thought that. Yeah. And that doesn't surprise me. But again, I think what's interesting here is that this is a rare scenario where in Hold'em you're laying a price because you're calling for a chop, which, like I said, in high-low games I do all the time. You have to figure out laying a price. So if it was an offsuit 6, I think I would find a call here. 650 for 535, but not with the flush out there. I just think there's too many flushes in his range. So,
yeah, and if it doesn't come a deuce on the river, I'm pretty sure I'll fold easily to his bet into me on the river.
It would be interesting. Yeah, I mean, like if the river was like, if the river was like, actually, it probably doesn't even matter that much, right? Like if the river was like an offsuit queen and he led the river here, I think I probably still fold, to be honest with you, with the flush out there. You know what I mean? So.
No, I got you.
Anyways, Chris, thanks for the call. If you like what you've seen here, please hit the subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this call-in hand, hit the like button down below. To check out crushlivepoker.com, click on the link in the description. Use the code YTA300 to get the first 30 days for free.